Hey everyone, welcome back. This is a fantastic episode. It's the first one of its kind that I'm doing, but not the last one. This is going to be another one of those new formats that I'm presenting forward for you all, and it is my Q&A. So I have friends and family and my many listeners and fans that have been writing me saying they want more. They want more of my insights. They have questions, especially from the episodes that I've put out already, to get some of my feedback and share some of my knowledge about the topics that we've talked about so they can translate that into their lives and unlock their highest potential and really become badasses of their life. So that is what this is about. So the first question, and I think probably the only one we're going to be able to get to on today's episode, is about the creation process. So some people call this manifestation, or they, call it the creative process, or just life hacking, whatever you want to call it. I'm just calling it the creative process or the creation process. And it's basically, how do you make your desires come to fruition? And I've really mastered this. Those people who know me or who've been following a lot of my content and all the podcasts I've been on and talking about the crazy shit that I've encountered and gone through in my life, for me to have gone from where I was to where I am now, really stepping into my authenticity, who I am, and that empowered person that I saw in a visualization over 18 years ago, is pretty remarkable. And people want to know how I did it in such a rapid time frame. And so there is an actual process. And many of the people I had on my show, the first 4 or 5 episodes, I asked them about how they went through their process. How did they create the life? How did they get through the most challenging times in their life? And this process that I'm going to share with you guys is not just about those difficult times. I mean, we all go through those times. They are meant to serve us, to make us better versions of ourselves. So since I'm on that topic, I want everyone to take away this one very important piece, that if shit is falling apart in your life, it is so incredibly important that you realize that this is serving you. Okay, like, you cannot allow your mind, not even 1 second, to get into that dysfunctional thinking that this is hurting me, this is God torturing me, why do I deserve this, and get into that victim bullshit. This is not about being a victim. If you have had desires in your life, if you've ever prayed, if you've ever, set any intention, which you have, because we've all been children and we're always dreaming and wishing and hoping. We are constantly intending. We are powerfully attracting to us, just by the laws of our existence, just by being human beings. We are creating from our intention, from our thoughts, from our heart, from our feelings, whatever. And so if something starts falling apart, this is absolutely 100% an opportunity for you to up-level your life, checkmark the stage, and get to the next part, a better, happier place in your life. That's truly what you need to embody. Do whatever it takes, whatever it is that you need to do to really grain that into your head, and know that every fucking obstacle, every hardship, every asshole, every relationship that failed, every fuck up that you do is serving you to get you to your next level. And that next level is all about coming back to yourself, which is freedom, which is loving yourself, which is creating effortlessly and having a blissful, fulfilled life. That is what we are all here for. Okay, so I want that to be solid in all of you. And that's not easy. It's easy for me to say, but to really be able to do that takes so many skills and so many tools. I understand. If you need help with that, you can reach out to me. I help people in my elite guidance program to unlock all of that and learn the tools and skills that they need to. LeslieKalen.com. Reach out to me and I can help you with that. So on to the important piece here, this process of really creating like a badass, okay? It's the very, very first thing is about getting clear on what you want. And this also might seem easy, but this is one of the most difficult parts for people. The first step and the last step of this process are really, really difficult. So getting clear, people are incredibly conditioned, indoctrinated by their life, not always knowingly, most of the time not, because when we're kids, we're impressionable, right? We are being influenced by schools, we're influenced by our parents and their limiting constructs, by society, from the influencers you watch on social media, whatever. We're constantly bombarded by not self bullshit that sits in our mind, sits in our energy. We eat it, we experience it, we see it, we listen to it. It's all just sort of congesting us. And so being able to rummage through all of that crap and finding out what is really our truest heart's desire can be incredibly challenging. I've worked with many people who just are stuck. They stay stuck for years and years, and it's so sad and heartbreaking, because how can you create what you want when you don't even know what that is? It's heartbreaking. And I've been there during my reshuffling. There was a time when there was so much upheaval, I felt lost for a time, which was very valuable, and I understand the significance and the importance of being lost and stuck. But it's not at all comfortable. People can stoop down into hopelessness, and a lot of suicide ends up happening when we can feel stuck and we don't have any direction. You can go from just not being clear to a deep, dark hole if we're not careful. So being stuck or unsticking yourself really involves getting quiet and still. So I've such a huge supporter of meditation. And now meditation is not like what people oftentimes think in mainstream. All the stuff you see in mainstream is really bastardized. It's cookie cutter. It's like one version. There are so many, many versions of what something can be, particularly meditation. You can do meditation in a single breath. You can do it while you're walking. You can do it in various forms. There are literally, I had started writing a course about the different types of meditation. There's at least 9. Okay, so if you're someone, I've tried meditation and I can't do it. Well, no, you probably just tried the wrong one. Or someone told you this is the only way and you suck if you can't do it this way. And if your mind isn't clear, then you're a dummy. And then you just kind of gave up because it's so hard. Okay, it's not that hard. It's really, you got to just dumb it down. And I had to dumb it down for myself too. And just find a way that just makes you focus on one single thing. Okay, that is meditation. Focus on one thing. It's not really is difficult. You don't have to not think. That's one way you can get to really deep depths by doing that type of meditation, which is great. I love it. I can go into all sorts of levels of consciousness and get crazy amounts of inspiration and epiphanies. And I can, I feel so much more rejuvenated. I can tap into all sorts of amazing resources by having a blank mind and going really deep into meditation. But you don't have to start unsticking yourself. It's really just about focusing on one thing. That's a quiet mind. Because if you notice about yourself, your mind is always bringing stuff up. It's thinking about this, and it's like that. It's the shiny penny syndrome. Our minds have to keep going because that's the way that it can control you. We don't want to be making decisions and letting our minds rule us. That is from the primal brain. Our primal brains don't need to be in existence the way they need it to be. We don't need to be running away from that lion and be thinking about all of these things for survival. We need to be connecting with ourselves. That's where the shift has to happen. And this is why it's so difficult for people to go away from the brain and into the stillness. That feat in itself is so challenging, and that is part of that first step. Is getting quiet and still. What do I want? What do I want outside of the indoctrination and the conditioning and all the shit that was, shit into your brain and energy field over the years? You bypass all of that by getting out of the mind and getting into your heart or getting into your stillness, whatever you want to call it. A lot of people need to connect with their bodies. I noticed this, I dance, I do Argentine tango. I was in a ballet company. I've done bikini muscle competitions, been very successful in them all. And I find people don't connect with their bodies enough. And so I find that a lot of people can learn meditation when they learn to connect with their bodies, because the stillness, all that like elusive, stillness in our bodies that we can't grasp onto can be very challenging for people. So I found this is kind of like a meditation hack. Okay, a life hack for meditation is to connect with your body and feel into your body when you're breathing and getting still. So like breathing, listening to your breath, you're connecting with your body. It also creates a biofeedback situation where you can actually de-stress, but it connects you with your physiology, and your body is telling you shit all the time. As you learn to meditate and you learn to connect with yourself, your body is a reflection of that. I mean, we know this. Even in Western medicine acknowledges it to a degree. I mean, stress creates high blood pressure. Blood pressure kills people. Like, this is not new. We know that connecting with your body and being able to calm it down has a powerful effect. So meditation, breathing, connecting with your breath, relaxing the body is going to be massively powerful for you to learn what stillness or meditation feels like. From those places of stillness, of connecting, of being able to go, okay, I'm bypassed my brain, all of the thoughts that I have, you're going to have an easier time connecting with what your truth is. Okay, so that is first and foremost, everybody I work with, everybody in the entire world needs to learn how to get quiet. Whether you call it meditation, whatever, I don't care. You need to get quiet. You need to connect with yourself. You need to connect with your body and breathe without the interference of your mind chatter. Okay, so that's going to be very, very pivotal. All right, number 2. I'm saying 4. 2. Let's pick a hand. Okay, 2 is going to be visualization. Okay, some people, again, that I've worked with, they have a very difficult time visualizing. They just can't see colors. They can't see an image. Not very many people, or most people, are pretty good at visualization. But the key to the visualization, after you know what you want. Okay, so I know what I want. I want to be a speaker. Let's just say I want to be a speaker. Okay, so what does that look like to you? Okay, so you want to be able to get into a relaxed state and really get as vivid as you can about the visualization. So I encourage people to use whatever modalities will make your visual as possible. Okay, music, a certain place to go. If you need candles, if you need a dark, if you need to be in an alleyway, I don't care, whatever, in your car, in the back seat with the covers and a pillow, whatever it looks like to you, just find out what is the best environment and the best accessories that you need to be able to encourage you to become, almost feel like you're in that visualization. So for me, I've kind of, again, mastered this so I can visualize anywhere, although I generally like to be alone. I really love my alone time. I used to be so freaked out about it. Like, oh my God, I don't want to be alone. I need someone just like anything, hold me. Now it's like, wow, I really need to have my space because, again, it's my own field. I don't have the distraction. I can really connect with myself. So just find whatever modality and place that you need to be able to get very visual. If you have a hard time seeing when your eyes are closed, you can use different types of like vision boards or magazines if you need to. And you can just sort of sit in contemplation about a visual. So if you can't do it with your eyes closed, just like I said, it's kind of like connecting with a photo. Vision boards are very good, or words sometimes help, or sometimes people want to look at colors, or just having like just music can evoke it. So again, many different ways that you can visualize. Generally, it's better if you can close your eyes just because it's your own creative process, but use whatever it is that you need to do. Again, I've worked with some clients that they've needed to have like an actual photo to look at first, and then they're like, oh my God, that resonates. That's exactly what I need to. And then we've been able to work with them, kind of imprinting that into their brain, and then they can see it. They can develop that ability to visualize over time. So again, can be a skill that you need to learn if you don't have it already. The third one is going to be feeling, and this is one that people forget it's super important. It's not difficult really, but people forget the importance. Like this is the most important thing in terms of visualization or creating. It's you need to feel. Feeling is actually way more important than even being able to see it, because sometimes seeing it throws you off. Like it kind of mind fucked me sometimes when I'm trying to visualize something and I'm like, I don't want to limit myself. Like, because sometimes maybe my imagination is not as amazing as what I can create, because my brain works in very weird ways. Like I'm always critiquing and trying to expand more. I'm like this mad scientist with everything that I do. So sometimes my brain works very, very well and for me, but sometimes it's also saying, oh, but what about if you're limiting yourself? What about, maybe you are stopping yourself from your highest limit by visualizing it too concretely. And then if it doesn't show up the way I want, then I'm like, well, it didn't show up the way I want. I failed, that whole thing. Like, really, that's how my brain used to work. So your visualization can be very general, but it's about the feeling, because the feeling is where the magic is. So we are energy beings, and this is not about spirituality or anything. This is just plain fact. We know this. Physicists know this. Western medicine knows this. We all know this and accept this. Our heart beats on electricity. Like we feel things, we experience things. Every single particle is just a vibration. They're not even physically touching. So this whole mind, emotion, those are elusive subjects, elusive things, but they powerfully create. So we need to use our emotion and this beautiful capacity, this mysterious, magical shit that we have called feeling, to supercharge our visualizations and really draw what we want to us. So the issue with this and the challenge that people can have is, first, they forget that they need to be feeling. A lot of times people have a hard time connecting with their feelings. They don't want to. They just, sometimes men, and not to call you guys out, but I've just worked with some men, they have a hard time connecting with feelings, particularly joy and happiness or freedom. So this whole process of just connecting with your feelings and knowing how to express feelings and become a feeling can be a whole program in itself that I have to work people through. So if you're one of those people who's like, oh yeah, I can get into a feeling, no problem. What do I need to do? Then it's going to be easier. If you're challenged with connecting with your feelings or even going there, you might need to work with somebody to open that up and unravel that whole feeling block that you have. So what I generally do for people that are able to connect with their feelings is, when you have that visualization of what you want, you need to connect a particular feeling of what it is to have that. Okay. And it's not like, and this is where it can also get a little tricky, because it's not, people sometimes end up realizing, oh shit, what I thought that I wanted isn't what I want, because the feeling, they can't attach to it, because it's not what they really want is a feeling, and that image actually isn't connected. Like, for example, if you want to be a speaker and you're like, oh my God, what does it feel like to be a speaker? And you can't, like, well, I really want to have structure, and this feeling of structure feels solid. It feels secure. It feels homey. It feels like I'm being hugged and supported and like secure. Well, that's not what a speaker, I'm just giving this as an example, would feel like. Being a speaker means traveling. It means adventure. It means freedom. It means excitement. I mean, so those, you see how the feeling of being warmed and coddled and safe and whatever doesn't necessarily align with being a speaker. So if there's a disconnect from what your visual is and what the true feeling is, you need to go back to your what you think that your desire is, the clarity, because the feeling is what's truth, not necessarily what you're wanting. So I might have hijacked your whole process here. But sometimes it happens when you feel like, oh my God, I really don't feel like being a speaker is what I want, because what the feeling that I want is I want adventure. What lights me up is like trotting the world and being free and whatever. Okay, yeah, a speaker could do that for sure, but you're not going to be an accountant, right? So being free and being an accountant, probably those aren't necessarily the same types of things if you are following me here. So sometimes, again, I've worked with people where there's that mismatch and then they're like, oh shit, I think maybe what I want isn't right. So then we have to go back to the drawing board. And oftentimes when we go through the process again of, meditating and disconnecting from the ego and the conditioning and getting, connected with the self again, you're like, oh yeah, that wasn't right. That isn't what I really wanted. So sometimes you have to start over when you get to the feeling part, but it's okay. It's all part of the process. You learn something and then you just continue on. That whole process was a process of clarity, right? So the whole time you were just coming back into clarity. So I digress, but that was a really important part. So the feeling, one sort of feeling hack that I like to share with people is to practice getting into a particular feeling that they want. So I really like to live in the higher vibrational feelings like peace, joy, love, bliss. Like I experience bliss every day throughout the day. Like I've been mastering my feelings to be able to be there. So that's where I want to live. I want more of that magic. I want more of that fulfillment that comes from joy, love, bliss. And I started doing that by feeling it in my body and thinking about first what made me feel love. Because some people don't know what love feels like. And I'm not talking about love with someone else. I'm talking about love from the inside. What does it mean to feel love, to be love? What does it feel like to be joy? Not see it or experience it, but to be it. It's a mind fuck to be experiencing outside and be it. And you want to get to the point where you're becoming it. And what about bliss? So what I started doing with myself and with my clients is think about first what it felt like to love someone or something. Where did you feel it in your body? What kind of experience was that? And then sit in that spot of love. If you have to have the visual of that person or that experience to really get into it, do that. Try and sit in it as long as you can. Like 10 minutes, 10, 11 minutes is really solid. The more you can do this in repetition, the more you're going to be able to get there in a heartbeat. Oh yeah, it's like you're training your mind, you're training your particles to know what it feels like to be love or to be joy or to be surprise. Like what does it feel like when you're surprised? Surprise is such a fun feeling. Or adventure. What was it like when you went on, that roller coaster at Disneyland or whatever, right? Like go into the feeling and really practice these feelings of what you want your life to emanate. Because the more that you feel them, you can experience them. You're training your brain to think and become that default. So your actual brain wiring is going to change from those sad, low vibrational feelings into these higher ones. You're going to be able to tap into it easier in your body. And then you're going to be able to visualize and connect your feelings to that so much more seamlessly. So sitting in that quiet, really focusing on, oh my God, I remember what it feels like to be, in front of the sun. And oh my God, I had so much bliss and it was beating down on me and I felt like so alive and I felt so, and you just remember it and you want to make the feeling as intense as possible, almost like you're vibrating. And if you have a shit-eating grin on your face, like, oh my God, you're sitting by yourself in your car or whatever, and you're just like beaming and your arms are up, do it. I've done it. It will pay off so powerfully. When you feel those feelings that intensely, you are supercharging your creative ability. So be as ridiculous as you want to be. Just feel it. This is so important. Allow yourself to be really push the limits of what you think is normal or acceptable, because this is you and your creation. So if you limit yourself from feeling, no, you're limiting yourself in your creation. If you want to be crazy and be like, oh, yes, I'm in the middle of the pond with my feet in it and I'm doing this and I'm like, I'm all blissed out. Do it. You will thank yourself for having done that. And you might inspire a lot of people along the way who are watching you in the pond, having a blissed out experience visualizing. So really important, feel, do whatever it takes. I gave you that one powerful strategy. Try and sit in your feeling for at least 10 minutes, at least once a day, more often the better. This is like practice, right? You want to master something, you got to repeat. It's all about repetition, frequency of doing it, and the sooner it'll be ingrained and the sooner you'll be able to really maximize it. All right, and then the last one, and this one can be very, again, I said the first and the last strategies or steps are the most difficult. And this one is letting go. So after all of this beautiful clarity you got, visualization you got, the obsession that you probably had with creating the feeling of having what you want now, then you have to let it go. What the fuck? Dr. Leslie, what? What do you mean let it go? I've just made my whole life about this thing, of wanting this thing. How do I let go? Why am I letting go? This is so important because when you are fixating so much on something, you're actually creating no space for it to arrive. And I've done this so many times where I've pushed away my desire because I've wanted it so much. So there's a difference between wanting it and the feeling of having it. So this is the important differentiation when we're talking about letting go. So when we become so fixated on wanting something, you're setting the vibration, or you're setting the message to yourself and the particles or your existence that you don't have it yet. And that in itself is the block that keeps it from arriving. So we need to get into the space of when you can really let go. It's not about saying, okay, I'm not going to get it. Fine. Again, I've been there. I've been so fixated. It's like, okay, well, it's not arriving. Fuck this. I guess I was wrong. I don't care. Burn the whole idea, and I went all pouty on myself, which again is also a pushing back. But what I found, even when I did the pouty thing, it did allow me to finally let go. And that shit showed up. Now, I don't want you to get to the point of being miserable and mad and cursing, because those aren't the vibrations we want you to live in. We want you to feel confident in your ability to manifest, or create. So it's about not attaching to it and saying it's a faith and confidence that it's going to show up. It's about knowing that you can have it and you will have it, and you don't have to be wanting it. And so that's part of that feeling of creating, it feels exciting to have my X, Y, and Z, but it's also knowing that you have it already. And that's the part of letting go, is being able to say, okay, I know that it's arriving. I know that I want it. And then allowing yourself to take that excitement and that joy and all the other things that you want to create in life and start focusing on those, and just knowing that, yes, I have that. Yes, I want it. Yes, it's coming. Yes, it's in the process, so that you can create space for it to arrive. And this, I find, is where most people end up getting stuck. It's the letting go, because they're like, how do I let go of something that I really, really want? Like, it's an attachment, but it's all coming from that space of not having it. So the real practice, and this step has taken me a couple of years to really master, being able to say, no, I have it. It's coming. I'm creating. I'm in the process. I don't have to. And I was sharing before the episode, I had a beautiful manifestation of this. So literally about a year ago to these weeks, I was in this space of understanding that I like to I like to wear high heels. I like to be up in the air because truly the air is more creative. I joke about this. People are like, why do you always wear heels? I'm like, because the air is more creative up here. And they laugh at me and I laugh back. And I'm like, no, but really, I discovered over the years that when I'm on a mountain or I'm in a plane, because I fly every other weekend, my creative energy is so much better. And I like to be in my solitude. I like to put my headphones on. I don't even listen to music, but when I'm flying, I have so much creative impetus. It's just truly the air for me. When I'm elevated, for some reason, it's magic for me. So I started visualizing myself in a private jet, not because of all the glitz and the glamour or anything, just because when I love to fly, which I fly often, I like to be solitude and I like to be elevated. So I visualize being in a private jet when I fly. Forgot about it completely. Literally 3 days ago, a friend of mine, a new friend that I met, he's a airline pilot who flies private. He was in town. He's like, oh my God, you got to come see me. I was on my lunch break and totally not thinking about it. Take some photos. He shows me inside the private jet and I'm sitting there and looking at the window and I'm like, holy shit balls. Like I visualized this a year ago. And he's like, oh yeah, I travel back and forth. If there's any time that you want to like have a trip to LA or whatever and the plane is empty, you know, we could arrange something. And I'm like, oh my God, this is like the beginning of that manifestation of me being able to create beyond and all of the things. And I was thinking about this. How did I create that? This when I totally forgot about it, even though I put so much energy into it, it's because I've been playing and I've been enjoying my life and I've been creating other things. And I allowed my energy, the magic that I have inside of me, the vibration to just do what it needs to do in the time it needs to take. But I was confident in my ability to create. I didn't need it. I didn't want it. I just knew that I trust myself. I know how my body works, my energy works in this world. And I was able to just do other things and create. And then it just starts showing up. So there's so much magic in this process. And I hope that this will be helpful for all of you. If any of you are stuck on any one of these parts or want more information, like I said, you can reach out to me, lesliekalin.com, and we can work through whatever it is that you are challenged with. But stay tuned for the next episode. I've got a really great guest that's coming on. I will be doing more of these Q&As. If you have any questions, email me. You can email me at leslie@lesliekalin.com or message me. You guys know how to reach me. I would love to hear what you guys want from this podcast and how I can share and help you unlock your highest potential and be absolute badasses and be able to manifest and create whatever it is that you want in your life seamlessly and quickly. All right, you guys, until next time.